right, diving in today. And you sent us something really interesting.
Yeah.
The Fat Burning Bible by Mackie Shilstone. Sounds intense.
It is. It's comprehensive, for sure.
It's a huge guide.
Yeah.
So our mission today, let's pull out those golden nuggets, those essential truths that help you really grasp, like, fat loss, the whole metabolism thing. We're going to break down Shilstone's, decades of experience, right? He's worked with everybody, top athletes.
Everyone, yeah.
To everyday people. And we're going to make the science practical, useful, something you can use today.
That's the goal.
Right now.
Exactly. And you know what this book, The Fat Burning Bible, really does is it's not just about like a diet plan. It's about like shifting how you think about your body. It blends nutrition and exercise, of course, but it keeps coming back to this idea you got to understand your own body and build habits that stick. Not just chase those like quick results.
And that's such a key point, right?
Yeah.
We want to go beyond just like summarizing the book.
Yeah.
We want to get to those core ideas so you get why he's saying these things.
Right.
Right. So like, how does your body actually deal with fat? What is the truth about metabolism? And like, what are some concrete things you can do, like backed by science, based on Shilstone's work? We want you to feel informed, but like empowered, right? Like you can take action.
Let's jump right into a big one. Shilstone makes this point that kind of changes how we see weight. He's saying obesity is like a leading preventable disease, right up there with heart disease.
Wow.
He's basically saying what cardiologist Chip Levy said, that 95% of heart disease is preventable.
Right.
And he applies that same logic to obesity.
Okay, let's unpack that a little bit. The book draws this like really clear connection between having too much body fat and having a higher risk for big problems. We're talking heart disease, type 2 diabetes, even certain cancers.
Right.
It's not just about like how you look in the mirror. It's about like your health in the long run.
Exactly. And the power here is like Shilstone saying we can take control. He's saying understanding this link, that excess fat, it's not just cosmetic. It's like a root cause of serious illness.
Yeah.
That's the first step, like the most important one.
It's about knowledge so you can make choices that actually change your health, not just for a little while, but for good.
All right, let's dig into some of these like core metabolic concepts. Shilstone lays out what he calls the 6 facts you must know about metabolism.
Okay.
And the first one, it really challenges how we usually think about diets. That whole thing about cutting calories. He's saying just doing that, it's not a path to long-term weight loss.
It's not enough.
There's more to it. The book points to some data from the American College of Sports Medicine.
Okay.
And it's kind of a reality check. They found that most weight loss, just by, eating less, it comes back.
Oh, no.
Yeah, 67% typically back within a year. And pretty much all of it within 5 years. So there's got to be something else going on.
So it's not just about eating less. It's about eating, smarter.
Fact number 2 gets into that. It's about the quality of the calories.
Okay.
He says, not all calories are created equal. And that's where the glycemic index comes in. This is where we start thinking about how different foods actually affect us.
Yeah, because a calorie isn't just a calorie.
Right. Shilstone makes a clear distinction, between simple carbohydrates like sugary stuff, processed snacks.
Right, and junk.
And then complex carbohydrates like you find in whole grains, vegetables.
Right.
And the glycemic index, or GI, measures how quickly a food spikes your blood sugar. High GI foods, they cause those rapid rises in blood sugar, and then insulin, and that insulin response that can really drive fat storage. And it even touches on ketosis, where you eat very few carbs.
Right.
He mentions the World Health Organization recommends at least 50 grams a day to avoid that state.
To avoid ketosis.
Right. But Shilstone, he advocates for about 40% of your calories coming from low GI carbohydrates.
Okay, so think of it like this. It's not just about how much fuel you put in your car, but what kind of fuel you're using, premium versus regular, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And that takes us to fact number 3, which might surprise some people. You need healthy fats.
I think a lot of people still think all fat is bad.
Right. But Shilstone makes the point that some fats are not just okay, they're crucial.
Essential.
Essential, yeah. Our bodies can't make omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids.
We got to eat them.
We got to get them from our diet, yeah. And if you don't have enough, you can get dry skin, hair loss, things like that. He stresses the importance of monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fat, the good fats,
Right.
versus saturated fats. He recommends a balance, right? About 40% of your calories from those low GI carbs, 30% from lean protein, and 30% from those healthy fats.
Okay, so it's all about balance.
Yeah, and fact number 4 builds on that. It's about controlling your insulin response. This is really central to what he's saying. The book explains that when your body's good at managing insulin, the hormone that helps your blood sugar get into your cells,
Right.
you're in a much better position to lose fat, improve your whole metabolism.
So being insulin sensitive.
Yes. And according to Shilstone, 4 main things influence that insulin response: the glycemic index, how efficient your metabolism is overall, the ratio of fat to muscle you're carrying, and how much you're moving, how much exercise you get.
And speaking of exercise, that takes us to fact number 5. Physical activity is essential for a good metabolism. It's clear the diet isn't the whole story here.
Definitely not. Shilstone actually cites some pretty concerning stats from a Surgeon General's report showing how inactive a lot of people in America are. Like 60% don't even get enough activity for basic health benefits.
Wow.
And 25% get no exercise at all.
That's scary.
Yeah. He then breaks down recommendations by age. Younger than 40, more focus on cardio. Older, more emphasis on strength training. All with the goal of, boosting that metabolism, burning more fat.
Like fine-tuning that engine.
Exactly. And then fact number 6, consistency is crucial. This is all about healthy habits, not just doing it once in a while.
Doing it regularly, yeah.
The key is your body thrives on predictability. When you have crazy eating patterns and inconsistent activity, it messes with your metabolism's ability to burn fat efficiently. So Shilstone recommends 3 balanced meals a day, plus a couple of healthy snacks, and keeping your activity levels consistent.
Okay, so consistency is key for your metabolism.
Absolutely. Now let's switch gears a bit and talk about fat patterns and what they mean for our health risks.
All right, so where we store fat matters.
Yes, and one of the first things Shilstone talks about is this difference between what he calls classic and reverse fat patterns.
Okay.
So classic male pattern is the apple shape, where fat is mostly around the belly. And for women, the classic pattern is more pear-shaped with fat in the hips and thighs. But the reverse fat pattern, that's when you see belly fat in both men and women.
Okay.
That's a red flag. That deep belly fat, it's more metabolically active, higher risk.
Got it. So where you store fat can tell you something about your health.
Exactly. And the book gives us several ways to actually assess this. First, body fat percentage. Shilstone gives ranges for men and women from athletic to obese, and he points out that women naturally carry a bit more body fat, around 10%, just because of biology, pregnancy and all that.
That makes sense.
And importantly, he pushes back on this idea that women just automatically gain more body fat as they get older.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, he says it's a result of diet, exercise, lifestyle, hormones.
Right.
So it's not inevitable.
Okay, so there's hope for us.
Absolutely. Next is waist circumference. This is super simple, but really powerful.
Yeah, measuring your waist, everyone can do that.
Right. And the book highlights this warning from the American Heart Association. 40 inches or more for men, 35 or more for women, that significantly raises your risk of heart problems. He quotes Dr. Signe C. Smith, who used to be the chief science officer at the AHA, saying waist circumference is as good a predictor of risk as BMI.
Wow, so just measuring your waist can tell you a lot.
It really can. He also talks about waist-to-hip ratio, which was more popular before, especially for women.
Right, I remember that.
While it was used to assess body fat, Shilstone points out it has limitations, especially as women start to gain more belly fat. He mentions research by Dr. Jean-Pierre Desprez, published in the British Medical Journal, suggesting that once a woman starts gaining weight around her middle, the waist-to-hip ratio might not be accurate anymore because both measurements are going up.
That makes sense. So it's not as reliable once belly fat starts increasing.
Right. Then he gets into metabolic syndrome X. Now, this is something you definitely want to avoid.
Oh, sounds scary.
It is. It's a bunch of risk factors that tend to happen together.
Like a cluster.
Yes, and they make your risk for heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, all that go way up. Things like large waist circumference, remember, 35 plus for women, 40 plus for men.
Right.
High triglycerides, low HDL, high fasting blood sugar, and high blood pressure. He says if you have 3 or more of these, you likely have metabolic syndrome X.
Not good. So what about BMI? That's something most people have heard of.
Yeah, the book talks about BMI ranges and it's linked to C-reactive protein, or CRP, which is a marker of inflammation in the body. He acknowledges that BMI isn't perfect.
Right, doesn't count for muscle.
Yeah, it doesn't differentiate between muscle and fat. So for very muscular people, it can be misleading, but he cites a study showing a clear connection between higher BMI and higher CRP levels, which mean higher risk of heart attack.
That's interesting. So BMI can be useful, but it's not the whole picture.
Definitely not. And to illustrate these concepts, the book has some great case studies.
Oh yeah, real life examples.
Exactly. Like Kim's story, which shows that the number on the scale isn't everything.
Right, it's not just about weight.
She started with high body fat, bad cholesterol, large waistline, high inflammation.
So a lot going on.
Yeah, and she didn't love vegetables,
Who does?
but she started the program anyway. Initially, the weight didn't drop super fast,
Okay.
but she was losing fat and gaining muscle.
That's great.
And what really motivated her were her before and after pictures. The difference was huge, even though the weight loss wasn't drastic.
So it's not just about the number. It's about how you look and feel.
Absolutely. And then there's Bo Walker, whose initial measurements were like really high risk.
Oh.
Yeah, but his story, which was in Let's Live magazine, it shows what's possible when you're consistent. In just 12 weeks, he lost a lot of weight. His body fat percentage dropped significantly. All his measurements improved. And he lost a ton of fat, but actually gained muscle.
Wow, that's amazing.
It really is. And finally, Carrie's story shows that you can have seemingly normal cholesterol, but still be at risk if you're gaining belly fat.
So cholesterol isn't the only thing to look at.
Right. Carrie was worried about the fat around her middle. Her initial cholesterol and triglycerides seemed okay, but Shilstone knew it wasn't a good trend.
Especially with a sedentary lifestyle, I'm guessing.
Exactly. And after she started the plan, her lipid profile, dramatically improved. Her total and bad cholesterol went down. Good cholesterol went up.
That's fantastic.
It is. And her brother even had success just by following the advice she gave him based on Shilstone's principles.
Wow, so it works.
It really does. Now let's get into hormones.
Okay.
Specifically the role of thyroid and human growth hormone.
Big players in our health and metabolism.
Huge, yeah. So the book starts with hypothyroidism, an underactive thyroid.
Right.
It points out that while many people are diagnosed, there could be a lot of undiagnosed cases out there.
Really?
Yeah. He mentions Dr. Broda Barnes and a consensus development conference, suggesting that relying only on typical blood tests might miss some people with thyroid issues.
So how can someone get a better sense of their thyroid health?
Yeah.
Based on what the book says.
Well, they suggested two main approaches. One is the standard comprehensive blood panel.
Okay.
But they also proposed a more holistic approach, where lab work is secondary to a person's history. A good physical exam, measuring their basal body temperature first thing in the morning under the arm, and checking the Achilles reflex. This gives a more complete picture of how the thyroid's working in that individual. The book also touches on the difference between synthetic T4-only meds and combination therapies that include T3, like Armour thyroid, noting that some doctors prefer the latter for certain patients.
Interesting. So it's about looking at the whole person, not just the lab result.
Exactly. And what about exercise and thyroid function?
Yeah, is there a connection?
Shilstone emphasizes that hormonal imbalances, especially high estrogen, can sometimes mess with thyroid function.
Okay.
And he points out that exercise can help bring hormones back into balance, like we saw in Douglas Daniels' case. He had undiagnosed hypothyroidism, started exercising, and then got thyroid meds.
So exercise helped even before medication.
Right. And the book includes Dr. Michael Murray's basic supplement recommendations for thyroid health, like a good multivitamin, a greens powder, and high-quality fish oil.
Okay.
Plus specific nutrients for thyroid function. Allie's story is a good example of how even slightly low thyroid function can impact someone's energy and well-being.
Yeah, it's not just about extreme cases.
Right. Now let's talk about human growth hormone, or HGH.
Uh,
The book takes a cautious approach here.
Okay.
It includes Dr. Michael Murray's warnings about injectable HGH, potential risks like diabetes, cancer growth, worsening of osteoarthritis.
So there are downsides.
Yeah. Dr. Murray prefers supporting natural HGH production through diet and lifestyle.
That makes sense.
The book also talks about HGH secretagogues. Those are things that are supposed to stimulate your body to make more HGH.
Okay.
But there's uncertainty about their long-term effectiveness and safety, although Shilstone does mention he's used them in limited ways himself.
Interesting. So it's not a clear-cut thing.
Right. Dr. Carter's also mentioned cautioning about potential high blood pressure with secretagogues. And then Dr. Mario McNally gives 5 criteria he uses to check for low HGH: body composition, bone density, exercise capacity, blood lipids, and quality of life. He even uses a quality of life questionnaire.
So a lot goes into it.
Yeah. Importantly, the book says true HGH deficiency is less common than hypothyroidism.
Okay, good to know. Now let's talk about stress. It's everywhere.
It really is. Shilstone explains that while the stress response is natural chronic stress, that's bad news.
Right, when it doesn't stop.
It messes with your immune system. It changes where your body puts its energy, increases inflammation markers like IL-6 and CRP, and it's linked to so many major causes of death.
So chronic stress is really bad for us.
Yeah, but the good news is even small lifestyle changes can lower IL-6 levels.
That's encouraging.
The book also gives us ways to recognize when stress is a problem.
Like red flags.
Yeah, he includes checklists for negative reactions to stress and even symptoms of depression. He shares Bo's story, who used exercise to manage emotions during unemployment.
That's a good coping mechanism.
It is. He also mentions that men and women often respond to stress differently. UCLA research suggests men go fight or flight,
Right, that classic response.
while women tend to tend and befriend, seeking social support.
Interesting. So different strategies might be needed.
Exactly. The book also lists reasons why women might experience more daily stress and gives 6 stress-fighting techniques for men.
Okay, so there's help for everyone. Now let's get to the practical stuff. The fat-burning metabolic fitness nutritional plan.
All right, this is where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah, how to actually eat.
Shilstone gives 5 reasons this plan works. It promotes fat loss while keeping or even building muscle. It improves cholesterol and triglycerides, gives you consistent energy, and works with the exercise plan.
Okay, so it's holistic.
Yeah, and the timing of meals around workouts matters. Exercising before eating can boost your metabolism.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He specifically highlights whey protein.
It's a protein powder.
Yeah, he recommends it as a between-meal snack and a pre-workout drink, especially before lifting weights. It helps protect and rebuild your muscles.
So it's not just for bodybuilders.
Definitely not. The book cites research from Exercise and Sport Sciences reviews supporting this. He lists other benefits too, like boosting metabolism, aiding recovery, supporting immunity and digestion, even acting as an antioxidant.
Wow, whey protein does a lot.
It really does. And he circles back to the glycemic index, stressing its importance again.
Okay, so low GI foods are key.
Absolutely, especially for people with diabetes. He mentions a study from the University of Sydney published in Diabetes Care that showed better blood sugar control in diabetics who ate a low GI diet.
Makes sense. What about fruits and vegetables? I'm sure they're in there.
Oh, absolutely. He's all about the 5-a-day campaign.
Right.
He emphasizes eating a rainbow of colorful fruits and veggies. It can dramatically lower your risk of dying from things like cancer and heart disease.
So eat the rainbow.
Exactly. He even breaks down the benefits by color: green, white, saran, brown, red. And he explains how they help lower blood pressure and strengthen bones, referencing the DHS study.
I love that he gives specific examples.
It makes it easier to remember. He also talks about healthy fats and essential fatty acids.
Okay, fats again?
Right, but the good kind. He clarifies the difference between monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats,
Right.
highlighting the benefits of monounsaturated fats and how crucial it is to get omega-6, omega-3s from your diet.
Got it. So some fats are our friends.
Exactly. He suggests ways to increase your intake, like eating cold water fish and considering DHEP or fish oil supplements. He even shares research from Circulation and the U.S. Physicians' Health Study that shows how good fish is for middle-aged men's hearts.
Great. And what about fiber?
Fiber is crucial too. He strongly recommends a high-fiber diet.
Hey.
It helps regulate blood sugar in diabetics, according to an American Diabetes Association study, and helps with long-term weight loss and maintenance, based on research in the Journal of the American Medical Association.
So lots of benefits.
Absolutely. The book gives examples of high-fiber foods and even a warning about dried fruits, even organic ones, because of their concentrated sugar.
Good point. I love that he includes these little caveats.
It's really helpful. And there's another case study here, Melinda Mobile.
Oh, yeah, let's hear about her.
Her story is inspiring. She says the nutritional plan was crucial for her recovery from cancer.
Wow.
It helped boost her immune system, and she feels confident about preventing a recurrence by sticking with these healthy changes.
So it's empowering.
Definitely. Now, all of this comes together in what he calls Mackie meals.
Okay, so this is the, meal plan part.
Yeah, he details the science behind these meal plans, which are built around that key ratio: 30% lean protein, 40% low GI carbs, 30% monounsaturated fats.
Right, that balance we talked about.
Exactly. He gives 6 different calorie ranges for men and women and instructions on how to estimate your individual needs using resting metabolic rate formulas and activity level multipliers.
So it's personalized.
Yeah, and he's clear about never going below 1,200 calories a day.
Makes sense. You need enough fuel.
Right. He even provides examples from the 1,200-calorie meal plan, with specific recipes for breakfast, snacks like protein shakes, lunch, and dinner.
Oh, I love when books give actual recipes.
Me too. Speaking of foods that burn fat, he integrates recipes throughout the meal plan sections.
Yeah, I noticed that. Like the cabbage and red bean soup, the southwestern fajitas.
Exactly. He gives you concrete examples of how to put these principles into practice. You see everything from flavor-boosting oatmeal to turkey cutlets, Sicilian ziti, even healthier desserts like yogurt parfaits. He includes sides too, like grandma's green bean pie. And sometimes he even gives you nutritional info.
So helpful. Okay, what about supplements? Does he talk about those?
He does. He recommends 6 supplements for fat loss.
Okay, let's hear them.
First up, a multivitamin mineral. It's essential for overall health, immunity, metabolism. He even lists specific nutrient recommendations. Then, magnesium, important for how our bodies use calcium, for blood pressure, cholesterol. He gives dosage recommendations and a note to be careful if you have kidney problems.
Okay, good to know.
Then there's chromium picolinate, which might help with glucose sensitivity and fat burning. He gives a dosage and a reminder for people with diabetes or hypoglycemia based on a University of Vermont study.
Makes sense.
Next is coenzyme Q10, or CoQ10. It's good for heart health and might help with breast cancer and reducing overall cancer risk. Then there's acetyl L-carnitine. It works with CoQ10 for energy production, possibly improving metabolism, endurance, and fat loss. He gives different dosages for men and women and tells you when to take it.
Wow, there's a lot of science behind these.
Yeah. And finally, green tea extract. It's thermogenic, meaning it helps you burn more calories, and it promotes fat burning beyond just its caffeine content. This is based on research in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. He gives dosage and timing recommendations.
Okay, so those were the big 6.
Right. He also briefly mentions a few other promising supplements. Alpha-lipoic acid for its antioxidant and insulin-sensitizing properties, conjugated linoleic acid or CLA for possible fat loss, muscle gain, bone density, and immune support, and omega-3 fatty acids. Those are well known for reducing body fat and increasing muscle mass. He gives dosage and food source recommendations for those too.
Okay, so a good mix of supplements to consider.
Yeah. Now let's move on to exercise. This is a big one.
Right, we've talked a lot about food, but movement is key too.
Absolutely. Shilstone starts with some pretty alarming stats about how inactive we are.
Or a sedentary society.
For sure. Then he lays out 10 key benefits of exercise. Yeah, starting with weight management, of course, but then improved heart function, better cholesterol, stronger arteries, better blood sugar control, protection against muscle loss as we age, that's called sarcopenia, help with erectile dysfunction based on a Harvard study, reduced menopausal symptoms, stronger bones, and stress reduction and mood boost thanks to endorphins.
Wow. That's a lot of benefits.
It is. He even includes a study on osteoarthritis patients and a story about a woman named Kelly who used exercise to cope with cancer treatment and family stress.
So exercise is good for both body and mind.
Absolutely. And that leads us to the fat-burning metabolic fitness exercise plan.
Okay, let's break that down.
First, he stresses getting your doctor's okay before starting any new exercise and recommends the PIRQ questionnaire to screen for any potential risks.
Safety first.
Always. Then he explains the principles of resistance training, like warming up properly, using machines and weights correctly, starting with the right weight, using controlled movements, full range of motion, proper body positioning, breathing right, and completing all the reps.
So it's not just about lifting heavy things.
It's about doing it right.
Right.
Then he lays out the basic 4-week program.
What does that look like?
It's called Module 1, the basic 4-week program, and it has a set schedule. Days 1, 3, and 5. 10-minute circuit of resistance exercises, then 50 minutes of steady-state cardio. Days 2, 4, and 6. 10 minutes of core work, then 30 minutes of interval training.
Okay, so it's pretty structured.
Yeah, it totals about 300 minutes of activity per week. He explains that circuit and resistance training are anaerobic exercises, which create what's called an oxygen debt.
Okay.
This leads to higher metabolism by building lean muscle mass and the EPOC effect. That's excess post-exercise oxygen consumption.
Meaning you burn more calories even after you finish working out.
Exactly. This type of training also helps your body use carbs better and releases hormones like HGH, testosterone, and epinephrine. He references a study in the International Journal of Sport Nutrition and Exercise for that.
Cool. So what kind of exercises does he recommend?
He provides instructions and pictures for various resistance exercises, targeting all the major muscle groups.
Like squats and lunges and things like that.
Yeah, things like squats, leg extensions, hamstring curls, chest press, lat pull downs, rows, shoulder press, bicep curls, triceps extensions. He also covers core exercises like crunches, reverse crunches, oblique crunches, back extensions, bridges, cat stretches, pelvic tilts. And there's an example of an interval training program using a treadmill. He even includes a case study about a young boxer to show how exercise and nutrition work together.
Great. So the book is very practical. It gives you everything you need.
It really does. And finally, there's a section on tracking your progress, your daily fat-burning metabolic fitness evaluation guide.
All right. So this is about monitoring how you're doing.
Exactly. He introduces the Wellness Organizer, which is a system for tracking your health habits in 12 different categories to help you lose fat and improve your well-being. It guides you on using charts to monitor your weight, body fat, muscle mass, BMI, and waist-to-hip ratio. He also recommends keeping a training log for your workouts.
So stay organized and track your progress.
Yes. And the book includes contact information for relevant organizations and websites, and a list of all the books and journals he cited throughout.
Awesome. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the most important takeaways you'd want our listeners to remember about the Fat Burning Bible?
The key is sustainable fat loss and metabolic health. It's a multifaceted approach. It's not about one magic bullet.
Right. It's about the whole picture.
Exactly. It's about understanding your metabolism, eating quality food, exercising consistently and in different ways, managing stress, and being aware of your hormones. All these pieces work together.
And for you, who send us this book wanting to understand this stuff without feeling overwhelmed, we really tried to extract the core principles and give you actionable insights. You know, how your body works, what steps you can take to make positive changes. And the case studies, the specific examples, those are there to make it more relatable and easier to remember.
Exactly. But keep in mind, this deep dive is just the tip of the iceberg. The Fat Burning Bible has way more detail, full meal plans, exercise routines, self-assessment tools. So go back to your book with these key ideas in mind and explore the parts that resonate with you, the parts that align with your goals.
Yeah, this is just the starting point.
And here's a final thought for you to ponder. The book really emphasizes long-term sustainable change.
Right, not quick fixes.
Exactly. It's about understanding your unique metabolic function, which is influenced by so many things, your genes, your habits, your stress levels. So how can embracing this personalized understanding empower you to move beyond generic diet advice and create a truly effective, lasting approach to your health and well-being?
That's a great question to leave our listeners with.
I hope it gets them thinking.
Thanks for diving in with us today.
My pleasure.
We'll see you next time.
Sounds good.